Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Nama Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I was also noticing the background that people have kept in their Zoom. Jaya has created a very nice background with Shankaracharya on one side and Dakshinamurti on the other side, blessing him all the time. Good, very good. Suryo yatha sarvalokasya chakshuhu.
Suryo yata sarvalokasya chakshuhu
न लिप्यते चाक्षुषैर्बाह्यदोषैः
na lipyate chakshushairbahya
एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
ekastata sarvabhutantaratma
सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
न लिप्यते लोकदुःखेन बाह्यः
na
न
lipyate lokadukkena bahyah.
In this mantra, the word bahya appears twice. You will notice that. Chakshushaihi bahya doshaihi na lipyate. In this context, bahya has a certain meaning. Dosha are related to the chakshu and dosha which are outside. External to the chakshu, external to the eye. So it is more like a literal meaning, vachyartha. The same word bahya is used in the second line of the mantra. Ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma na lipyate loka dukkhena bahya. One bahya refers to the sun not being affected by dosha which either belong to the eye or belong to something outside the eye. Whereas in the second line, it says, in the same way, although being sarvabhutantaratma, lokha dukkha na lipyate, and then adds almost, it looks like Vakya is standing, hanging separately as a bird. Ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma loka dukkhena nalipyate. The sentence is complete. This Bahya, what does it mean? You cannot say that having said loka dukkhena na lipyate, you cannot say outside the loka dukkha also it doesn't affect, it doesn't make any sense. So what does this Bahya mean? Bahya has to be like the words like near, far, inside, outside, near, far, small, big. All of these are only comparative. You cannot have a word like outside without a referential point. The Hormuz Strait, I keep reading, and newsmen keep saying, at its narrowest points, it's only 35 kilometers, as if it's a small amount. If you have to cross a desert, only a small strip of 35 kilometers, it won't look so small. It is relative. Relative to what? Relative to the shipping and the size of the ships that will pass through that, and the size of waterway required for the ships to pass through. Therefore, there is a relative there. Even if you say, somebody wants to go somewhere, and you tell him, oh, from my house it's quite close. You can go. Now, this close, this near, is also relative. If you're going to walk in the sun, even a 10-minute walk is not close, not near. But from the house, you go to an air-conditioned car, even 10 kilometers is near compared to this city. So this word Bahya can never be by itself. It has to be related. Typically what happens is the rest of it, the comparison is understood in our speech. When I say, for example, I can hear the cat mewing, the ashram cat is outside this room. I can say the ashram cat is outside, but I have to add this room. Because with respect to the ashram itself, the cat is in the ashram, not outside the ashram. So these words are always relative only. So what does this Bahya mean? Already Acharya has, in the first paragraph of the Bashyam, has explained this, how Surya yatha chakshusha alokena upakaram kurvanna mutra purishadi ashuchihi prakashanena tad darshana sarvalokasya chakshu api sanna, despite being the revealer of all of that, na lipyate chakushaihi. Ashuchyadi darshana nimittaihi adhyatmikaihi papadoshaihi bahyaischa ashuchyadi samsara doshai, samsarga doshaihi, all only by association. We've seen all this. Ekaha sanna tatha sarva bhutantaratma nalipyate. Bhashyakara said, they explained this. But in the context of the Atma, with the second line, what is Bahya? What is the relationship? What is the comparison if you're going to use Bahya in the literal sense, in the dictionary meaning sense of being outside? Here clearly, outside is not the direct meaning that we should take. Bhashyakara recognizes this. And he therefore adds a whole paragraph to explain this word Bahya, saying, we've seen this also, Loko hi avidyaya swatmani adhyastaya kama karmodbhavam dukkham anubhavati. Samsara means dukkham. There's no escape. Samsara means dukkham is there. And why does the dukkham come? He says, avidyaya swatmani adhyasa. Avidya is the starting point. Because of the vidya, swatmani adhyastaya. With this avidya, people say, I have this problem. Avidyaya, where does the problem come from? I get a feeling that I would like to have this. I want this. I'm incomplete without this. Whether it's a person or an object or whatever else. I'm incomplete. Therefore, I want it. So, this karma starts with avidya, avidya-driven, swatmani adhyastaya kama. I superimpose this kama and get the result that I want because my avidya says I am incomplete. Again, if you have comparative word, I am small, I'm unintelligent, I'm overweight. All of these are relative to what? Relative to what I think I should be. And why do you think I want to be that? Because somewhere I associate that with saying, if I have that, I will be happy. This is how the whole thing starts. Avidya, Atmani Adhyasa Kama. That Kama leads to karma. Therefore, I must make an effort to get that or avoid that, whichever. Kama karma udbhava dukkham. Now, any karma which leads to karma, we know it is dukkha. Why? I am sitting today in a position where I think I want that. I don't have that. I don't have that. And again, there's a comparison. Because I see somebody else has that. Whether it's a material thing or anything else, I want something, I see somebody else has that, therefore I want it because I think I will get what I want if I get that. Therefore, there is already the beginning of a dukkha. I want a dukkha. Because my avidya starts from the fact that I don't know I am Purnaha. There is no want of any kind. I don't know that. And that comes from a wrong, false notion of I itself. Therefore, I want. Therefore, some effort. Now, there itself is dukkha. Then what happens? You make an effort. It doesn't come the way you want it to come. More dukkha, more dukkha, more dukkha. No, Swamiji, sometimes I manage to get it because by making the right effort. Then what? Then are you getting what you wanted? Then also doesn't happen. Then something else is wanted or more of the same thing is wanted. Earlier, I used to really struggle to understand why people who have made millions want more. I just couldn't figure it out. They thought money is what is going to get them what they want. Through whatever effort they made, they got the money. Then what? I want more money. Or I want something else. Then I want never stops. And I want the starting point for dukkha. Samsara is only that. That I want. So even the process of trying to get it to my effort, I find three other people overtake me and get what I thought I wanted. They already got it. I haven't got it. How many times have you experienced this? How did he get it? Swamiji, I remember once telling us about a sannyasi who was a teacher. He did a lot of big advertisements and all that for a series of talks. in the quadrangle of a residential colony. Big garden. And then the whole thing was set up. The only people who were there were, a couple of people were assisting him. And one mommy who was drying clothes outside. They are the only ones who were there in the talk. And he said, how is it that I have been talking, nobody comes? When the other Swami talks, everybody comes. Ray, if you have understood that what you want is moksha, you won't care whether there is one person to hear or nobody to hear, or if there are 10,000 people. That is not that is avidya. Even for a sannyasi, that is true. You're looking for something and you don't know what you're looking for. And you see somebody else gets it. How does he get 100 people for his class? Letting him, at least he's benefiting a few people. But I get only 7 people. You benefit 7 people if you want to. It's vidya-driven kama, and therefore the karma, karma udbhavam dukkham. This is what we experience. This is samsara. But if you understood the paramarthika satyam, if you even understood the concept of moksha, there should be no room for this kind of dukkha. How can there be a dukkha for Atma? Atma is Purna, no question of want. Avidya only leads to kama, kama leads to karma leads to all the other things that go with it, but mainly it's dukkha. And if you don't get what you thought you wanted to get, more dukkha. So samsara dukkha, kama karmodbhavam dukkham anubhavati, natu sa paramarthatah swatmani. Atma has no such limitations. So a person who's understood even the very idea of moksha is free of this. Na lipyate. Loka dukkhena na lipyate. And this, to explain the bahya, Acharya takes those beautiful examples. Why doesn't he get this, doesn't get tainted by this, by the dukkha? Why doesn't a dhira purusha not experience dukkha? Or in the early stages, even if it does experience dukkha, it's on the surface. He's able to see that dukkha is not his. Those 4 examples we saw. Rajju Sarpa, Shuktika, Ushara desert, and Gagana. In each of this, we have Sarpa, Rajat, Udaka, and Mala. The Rajju characteristics remain Rajju characteristics. Sarpa characteristics do not get themselves imposed on the Rajju despite the fact that we see Sarpa. The moment we recognize Sarpa, the moment light is switched on, Sarpa is gone, Rajju remains exactly the same, no change. Same thing with the desert. The desert sand remains desert sand. Despite the fact that the wayfarer who is seeing the water in that mirage, when he goes closer, there is no water. The sand remains exactly the way it was. Hot, uncomfortable, but remains same sand. Nothing is superimposed on it. So these 4 examples Acharya gives to show why is it that it doesn't affect the what can be called adhisthana, on which the error occurs. The error leads us to understand that the error is because of another order of reality, a non-self-existing snake. But Swamiji, real snake gives me fear. Sure. A fake snake also will give you fear, as long as you think it is snake. Fake snake, I like that. Like all the fake news these days, no? That will also give you whatever the reaction has to come from that. A shuktika, mistake for rajas, gives one a longing, a greed. Till one recognizes, oh, it is only shell. Because of this samsarga connection, samsargini viparita buddhi adhyasa nimittat tad doshavat vibhavyante na tad doshaihi tesham lepaha. On this adhishthanam of each of these, the dosha or whatever properties you have of the whatever has been superimposed does not attach itself at all. So he brought in the idea of transcendence. By giving these beautiful examples, therefore he says, Viparita buddhi adhyasa bahyahite. Viparita buddhi adhyasa bahyahite. These four remain outside, bahya, transcend the viparita buddhi adhyasa. They remain exactly what they are. They are unaffected. In the same way, we will read from here. Tatha Atmani Sarvalokaha
Atmani
Sarvalokaha
Sarvalokaha
Kriya Karaka Phalatmakam Vijnanam
Kriyakaraka
Vijnanam
Phalatmakam Vijnanam
Sarpadisthaniyam
Sarpadisthaniyam
Viparitam Adhyasya
Viparitam
Tannimittam Janma Maranadi Dukkham Anubhavati
Tannimitam
Tannimittam
Janma
Janma
Maranadi
Maranadi
Dukkam
Dukkam
Anubhavati
Anubhavati
Natu Atma
Natu
Natu
Atma
Atma
Sarvalokatmam Visanna
Sarvalokatma
Sarvalokatmam Apisanna
Viparita Adhyaropa Nimittena
Viparita
Viparita
Adhyaropa
Adhyaropa
Nimittena
Nimittena
Lipyate Loka Dukkhena.
Lipyate Loka
Loka
Dukkhena.
Dukkena.
So clear that we have to understand where we are getting into trouble. Janma Marana Dukkham Anubhavati. Janma Marana Dukkham means all the others in between as well. Janma Marana Dukkham Anubhavati. Kaha Anubhavati. Loka, Sarvo Loka. All people in this Jagat, being born humans, Janma, Marana, and everything else in between, all the dukkhas in between, because of the Kama Karma Anubhavati. This the next step. Now he is having given us the example, he is saying, how does it apply to Atma? In this world, Tatha, in the same way, Sarvo Lokaha Janma Maranadi Dukkham Anubhavati. Why? Katham Kriya Karaka Phalatmakam Vijnanam sarpadi sthaniyam viparitam adhyasya tannimittam janma maranadi dukkham anubhavati. Janma maranadi dukkham anubhavati, arising from what? Tannimittam. The result of what? Sarpadi sthaniyam viparitam adhyasya. Like the sarpa, etc., superimposed upon the adhishthanam, we also take all the upadhis and superimpose on Atma I. Therefore, all the limitations of the Jagat be imposed on the I, and therefore I say, I am limited. Therefore, I want something to change the status. I want to improve. I want to achieve. Like just because Swamiji says that do not stop working, okay? You have to achieve. But we are all at a stage where we understand what that is. But Kriya, Karaka, Karma, knowing that all the karma that you do and the karakas that you have to have, all the karakas. Karta karaka, karma karaka, karana karaka, etc., etc. All are karakas. You know what karakas are? Tat phalatmakam vijnanam, knowing all this. Even then, sarvo lokaha viparita madhyasya tan nimittam janma maranadi dukkham anubhavati. Therefore, the whole Jagat experiences dukkha. Nobody has to tell us this. I know everybody goes through this. Therefore, I know. Okay, I agree. We go through dukkha. Who is the we who goes through dukkha? Who is the I who goes through dukkha? The I that I have assigned to myself as an individual I is the one who undergoes this dukkha. Atma, when understood as Ekameva Adviti Atma, as I, that Atma does not have any of these problems. I have to understand I is that Atma. That is why this Aproksha Jnanam we are trying to understand. Natu Atma Sarva Lokatma. Now listen to this very carefully. Sarva Lokaha Sarva Lokaha Dukkham Anubhavati. Now, Atma has been defined as Sarva Lokatma. Therefore, if all human beings on an average undergo one unit of dukkha, Atma being Sarvalokatma would experience some 8 billion times that dukkha. A collective dukkha. But no, doesn't. What? Natu Atma Sarvalokatma Vapi Api Sanna. Even though being the Atma of everyone, it does not undergo any of these. Sarva lokatma pi sanna viparita adhyaropa nimittena na lipyate loka dukkhena. Despite the fact that this is the Atma of every being, I said 8 billion, I think I'm wrong, because even all the animals undergo dukkha. Janma maranadi dukkha. Therefore, perhaps several trillion times. Sarva lokatma pi sanna viparita adhyaropa nimittena lipyate loka dukkhe. Now lipyate. Now is there in the beginning of the sentence. That's a statement. It is a statement given by Shruti, which Bhashyakara finds on. It is only a statement. I accept it because Pramana, Shastra says, is not affected. So Bhashyakara asks, why do you say that? Why do you say not affected? Kutaha, let's read this.
कुतः
कुतः
Bahyah rajvadivat.
वाक्यः
रज्ज्वादिवत्
Bahyah rajvadivat eva.
रज्ज्वादिवत् एव
एव
विपरीत बुद्ध्यस्यास बाह्यो हि न इति. बाह्यो हि स इति.
विपरीतबुद्धिस्य वाक्यः
बाह्यः रज्ज्वादिवत् एव विपरीत बुद्ध्यध्यास बाह्यो हि स इति. It is literally, if you say, it is external to the viparita buddhi adhyasa. But to understand this only, Bhashyakara has given so many examples. Here, Bahya has to mean it transcends all this. It is not in any way connected to the upadhi. Whatever dukkha I've sensed because of the dehadi upadhi does not belong to the Atma. Atma, despite being in all being, does not carry all their dukkha. Instead, there is no relation to dukkha at all. One can even argue that Atma has no relation to Sukha also. Correct? Laukika Dukha Sukha is Laukika Sukha Dukha. Atma is simply a Saksha. It sees the Dukha also, it sees the Dukha, Sukha also, that individual jivas powered by the Chaitanya, which is as though reflected Chaitanya, experiences. Atma is untouched by this. It is Bahya. It is over and above Viparita Buddhi Adhyasa Bahya. This is the meaning of the word Bahya here. It is not in the same order of reality. Like the waking buddhi, the waking consciousness is unaffected by the swapna events. What is waking consciousness? The as though reflected consciousness, which is seen in the waking state, unseen in the swapna state. Which projects all the entire Jagat, Swapna Jagat, itself unaffected. Having shown us that the nature of Atma, being Purnaha, being the only one, therefore transcending everything else in any other order of reality. Ishvara system reality or Manushya system reality, which are all relative and lower orders, is unaffected by any of these things. Because as human beings, we are confused. Bhrantascha kamadi dosha prayuktah karma kurute. We do action because of confusion. Karma has to be done. But karma done with understanding. That is why karma yoga is so critical a step in this process. To do karma and recognize that karma I'm doing is karma in the vyavahara, that karma in the vyavahara, the only result that I should look for is Atma Shuddhi. And therefore the karma I choose to do has to lead to that. Therefore karma yoga. Atma has no avidya. All the root cause of all these is avidya. There is no avidya in the Atma. Our avidya is opposed to the vidya that we know in the Jagat. Atma neither has vidya nor avidya. Big statement. Please understand what it says. Vidya, avidya, as we know in the Jagat, belongs to Jagat. Jnanam, ajnanam. What the Atma is, not what Atma has. Atma is Nyapti. That which makes the Jnanam and Ajnanam in the Jagat possible. That Nyapti. Or as Acharya puts it, Nya Dhatu Artha. Having shown us the nature of the Atma, Shruti takes us to the next step in this process of learning and shows us how we should view this Mahavakya. How can I recognize this Atma as I? By now, I think all of us are in a state where we can see this. We are all in the state where we can see the logic of all this. And yet to get that aproksha jnanam that I am that Atma, there is nothing else. It requires lot more shravanam, mannam, and most importantly, nididhyasana. So Shruti keeps us going in that direction. What is a Mahavakya? Anything that shows us the aikyam, the oneness between this Atma and the Jivatma, which looks like many. The next 2 or 3 verses, Shruti takes us through that. Kincha एको वशी सर्वभूतांतरात्मा
एको
वशी
सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा
एकं रूपं बहुधा यः करोति
एकं बहुधा यः करोति
समात्मस्थं येन पश्यन्ति धीराः
येन पश्यन्ति धीराः
तेषां सुखं शाश्वतं नेतरेषाम् Before you go into this Bhashya we discussed a little bit. If you remember in the previous verses also we talked about Bahishya. Remember that, where we talked about Rupam Pratirupo Babhuva. There Shruti was showing us how that Atma is the karanam for the entire multiplicity that we see, and yet is Bahishya. A nice word. Ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bhaishya. It is nothing to do with those individual rupas. They are all mithya. But last two verses, I think it says that. Wherever it says rupam rupam pratirupo bhaishya, bhuva, rupam rupam pratirupo bhaishya. There slightly bhaishya is different meaning there. It creates all these, but there are no discrete entities of Atma. In, out, through, everything is only up. That is the meaning there. Now it comes to the Mahavakya, Aikyam, and the Phalam. Kincha means further, continuing. Eko vashi sarvabhutantaratma ekam rupam bahuda yah karoti. Now compared to what we said, ekam is only one. Rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva. As though has become multiple rupas. Nothing has become multiple. That ekam, that Atma, that consciousness, sarva bhutantaratma ekam rupam bahutaya karoti vashi. It has everything in its vasha. That means everything actually does what it does only because of this consciousness. Eko vashi sarva bhutantaratma ekam rupam, but looks like many. Bahuda yak karoti. Again, here you should. Karoti immediately means what? It does. But we know Atma does nothing. Therefore, how do you interpret karoti? Bahuda karoti. It is as though seen as many. That's all. There is no becoming. Atma has become so many samsaris. Atma has become nothing. So Bahuda yah karoti, karoti itself is a action word, a verb. No verb can apply to consciousness Atma. It's a karta. Therefore, you should interpret the word only to say that Atma appears as though becomes many, itself unchanging. Even a thing like a rope snake example. A rope is there in the semi-darkened room. One person who walks in there sees the snake, runs away. Another person walks in there and sees maybe a stick because the rope is lying straight. A third person may come and see it as a streak of water. The fourth person might come and see it as a crack in the floor. Can be anything. All are only appearances. Rope has remained unchanged. So even in this Jagat, we have examples which can look at and say that is how it is. Eko, and that rope is the Adhisthana. Because of the rope, only all these varieties are coming. See, I have to again use the word coming. That's also a verb. But how do you express this? Sarvabhutantaratma ekam rupam bahuda yak karoti. In this line, we got more or less a reflection of what was shown in the couple of verses earlier. Rupam rupam pratirupam babhuva. The second line is the Aikyam. If you can see that through all of these many forms, there's only one form. No, one form could there's only one entity. There's only Atma, there's only consciousness. Then it becomes very clear that the I that I'm experiencing today in this Karyakarana Sanghata is only as though. That is Mithya. The I is only that consciousness, Atma. He who can see this, Tamatmastham, again, using words is all that we have. Atmastham. Atmastham means what? Atmani sthitam. One, it's in each Atma. Here, Atma means Sharira. One that is there in every Sharira. Okay. If it is there in every Sharira, it means a location, no? It contradicts whatever we learned earlier. No. Therefore, we recognize what is in the Sharira as not the original, but as some form of image. Like that famous example we have of the sun and the reflecting surfaces. In any Sharira which has a Sukshma Sharira, which is some form of reflecting surface, and each reflecting surface is different from the other, therefore it looks like there are so many different Atmas. Tam Atmastham. That which is in the Atma, Yaha Anupashyanti. He who is able to see, Ya Pashyati Sapashyati. Kim Pashyati? Atmanam Pashyati. Satyam Pashyati. Jnanam Pashyati. Anantam Pashyati. He can't say, I see. Because the moment he says that, then you already have the wrong notion of I. But Shastra can say, Yaha Pashyati Sapashyati. Saha Dhiraha. He is the one who is Dhira Purusha, who is a Jnani, who is a Viveki. He is the one who is able to see what is the result of that. Aham Atma eva. Atma eva aham. Once you see that, already we have said, not subject to dukkha. Now we take the other positive way of saying that. Not just not subject to dukkha, tesham sukham shashvatam. His sukha is nirantaram, endless, shashvatam. Oh God, we again come into words. Shashvatam sukham. Confusion can come because the sukham we know is the laukika sukham, which is the opposite of dukkham. And the sukham has degrees. Very, very happy, little less happy, little less happy, neither happy nor unhappy, and so on and so forth. No, that is not the sukham we are talking about. Sukha swarupam. Once it is sukha swarupam, there's no change. It remains what it is. Tesham sukham shashvatam. That is what is sukha swarupam. No other sukham can be shashvatam. No sukham that we know in this jagat can be shashvatam. Shashvatam means unending. Our own experiences are only that we have dukkha, 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 sukha, 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 dukkha, 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 dukkha. It's the experience we have. But shashvatam sukham means what? Sukha swarupam. Can others experience? Others can experience laukika sukha, apekshika sukha. This is what? Na itaresham. Other than him, Other than such Dhira Purusha, nobody can experience this Sukham Shashvatam. They can experience Apekshika Sukham, Anitya Sukham, Laukika Sukham, but not Shashvat Sukham. Only the one who has gained this clarity about the Aikyam, about the nature of I, Aparokshataya, only such a person can experience, can not even experience, can't say experience for Atma. Every experience is Atma. We get trapped in our own world. No? But is that Sukham? His Swarupa is Sukham. His Swarupa is Jnanam. His Swarupa is Anandam. His Swarupa is Anantam. Swarupa is Satyam. That is the recognition. There is nothing else. Therefore, we say, Tam Atmastham Yah Anupashyanti Dhiraha, he is the Viveka Purusha, Tesham Sukham, for him the Sukham, for them in this, Sukham Shashvatam. Yeah, plural. So he's hoping that many people will know. Dhiraha, Tesham Sukham, Shashvatam, Na Itaresham. Others cannot expect to gain this or be this. Be this Sukham. So if you rephrase this mantra, Yaha Ekaha Vashi. Ekaha being only one. Vashi. Vashi of what? The entire Jagat. All the Mithya Vastu. Sarva Bhutantaratma Ekam Rupam. And thus Ekam Rupam Bahuda Iva Karoti. Katham Mayaya. Bahuda Karoti. Tam Atmastham. Tam Atmastham means Tam Sharirastham. Tam Sharirastham. Ya Dhiraha, ya Dhiraha, Dhira Purushaha, Vivekinaha, who have the Adhikaritvam, who have the necessary preparation, those people, Anupashyanti. Yes, in fact, Anupashyanti, I'm sure Pashyakara will talk a lot about Anupashyanti as well. How do you see this? And if it is easy to see, why is it that everybody can't see it? For them, Tesham Shashvatam Sukham Na Itaresham. Not for the others, not for anybody else. Recognition of this earlier mantra, absence of samsara dukkham. And in fact, if you ask me, samsara dukkham as well, sukham as well. There is no sukha, there is no dukkha for that. Because your nature is sukham. Sukha swarupam. That's why anantam and anandam mean the same thing. Satchit Ananda is the same as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Because any other Sukha is Apekshika Sukha only. Any Ananda is only Apekshika Ananda, Anitya Ananda. All belong to Loka. But if your very nature is that, you can't take these words separately and say, Satyam is this thing, Jnanam is this, and Anantam is this. They're all the same thing. There's only one Atma. They are not the qualities of the Atma. Qualities belongs to Jagat. You apply qualities to objects of the Jagat. Atma has no qualities. I'm going to say no character. It will become a characterless Atma. That has a different meaning. Atma has no properties. So all this Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam mean only one thing. That is why, that is the lakshartha of these words. Any vacha to apply will apply only to the Laukika Jnanam. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam or Anandam, when you understand the lakshyam of that, the vivaksha of what the Shastras tell us, that is only Atma, nothing else. We will look at the Bashyam in the next class. We are coming to the end of this Upadesha completely, but then there's still one more Valli to go after this. We'll be interested to see what Shastra has to say about that Valli. Because Upadesha is complete. You know what the Atma is. You know how to look at the Atma. And therefore gain the Jnanam, which is moksha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate